Hey everybody, Sean Mons with Firearms and Fitness, and today we're going to talk about my first class that I've gotten to teach with my own material. So long story short, guys, as you guys know, I've been shooting for a while. I kind of been to a bunch of classes, done fairly well as a competition shooter. So I actually had a bunch of friends that wanted to learn basically how to shoot from me. Some of them, their skill level was low to very intermediate. They wanted a way to learn how to practice and how to get better. And that's what I did today. Now, I didn't charge anybody for this class. I didn't have a good curriculum set in stone or anything like that, so I thought it'd be wrong to charge for this class and whatnot. But there is stuff that I learned as a teacher. So, long story short, I have 3 students, all right, all people I know. And what I was able to do is kind of build at least a skeleton about what I might be teaching later in life. There's a couple of things I learned. First thing is, I have to be more clear. When I was teaching and explaining to people, there are times I just figured they understood the assignment, all right, because I would have. It's something I understand, it's something I've done before, this, that, and the other. But no, I have to be more clear with the instructions, what I want them to do, what I want them to focus on in particular. Grip was a big problem in this entire class. Was a breakdown of grip, not getting a proper grip. Another thing that was a big problem was the draw. All right, was getting them to learn a good, clean presentation, not fishing, not bowling. All right, we wanted a good, clean presentation. Unfortunately, I wasn't super clear originally on how to do that. So, as I learned a little further into the class, I was able to break it down a little bit better, slow it up, and bring it up. Another thing is, I learned that there are times where, what is it called? It's a saying, we'll just say a saying. We've all heard the common, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. All right, now what does that saying mean? It means go slow for a little while until you build these motor patterns. And as you build these motor patterns, you are going to get faster with it. All right, because you have smoothed it out, you worked out the kinks, and now this motor pattern is just something you have learned. You now can subconsciously do it. Well, the issue is, people hear the slow part, all right, and they just assume by going slow, I'm going faster. No, you do have to kind of push yourself in order to get faster at things. And that's something I had to kind of keep in mind too, was when I was explaining stuff, I have to explain what exactly I want them to do. For instance, when I kept saying accuracy at speed, what do I want you to accomplish? I needed to be a little more clear about a definitive goal of what I need them to do. All right, for instance, if your acceptable point of accuracy is a circle that big, how fast can you go to get into this circle? All right, if it's this big, how fast can you go? And so on and so forth. So I need to start breaking that down a little bit more and maybe building up drills in order to get into that a little bit better. Number 2, I need to be more cognizant about my drills. So I did 3 drills. All right, 2 of them everybody knows. The failure drill, which is to the body, 1 to the head. And 2 is a bill drill. Everybody knows a bill drill. All right, draw 6 rounds into center mass. All right, where the chips lie is where the chips lie, but 6 rounds is all you get. And you want them all in the A zone. We're using IDPA targets, so that's the down 0. Either way. The last one is something I came up myself. Now, my competition side thought this would work out, but in practice, it didn't really work out for a major reason. All right, so this is how the scoring worked on this. First off, so anything inside a C zone was 5 points. D zone, 1 point. You miss, negative 10 points. I ditch that altogether and say if you miss, you failed the entire thing. All right, because in this drill, misses are meant to not be like acceptable. What it is a modified Dickens drill. And for those that don't know, the Dickens drill basically came up because a dude inside a mall, all right, decided to start shooting at people. This man, Mr. Dickens, decided, hell no. Stood up, put 8 rounds on target at the 10 rounds he shot at about 40 yards in approximately 14 seconds. I modified this a little bit. Target still 40 yards, C zone 5 points, D zone 1, miss, negative 10. So 1 miss can really sink your score at 40 yards, and you have 10 seconds. It is a solid 10 seconds no matter what. to draw and put rounds in the target. Well, here's the thing. I do everything off of hit factor. I think a hit factor is a much better way to measure your performance, over time, and to see where you're at later in life and compare it to where you were, all right? Because hit factor just shows progression. Points in time, you don't necessarily know if it's better or worse, all right? Because it is kind of hard to quantify. Hit factor is super easy to quantify. Do I have a higher hit factor? Do I have a lower hit factor? But anyway, so beginning of the class, all right, everybody kind of did the drills the way I thought. They were at least calm and collected when taking the 40-yard shots. Now, one of my students did not hit it one time at all right, which is fine. This is a beginning drill to see where you guys are at and show you guys what your skill level is to start with. And that's something I think is actually very important. See what your skill is now, and at the end of class, see if you've improved at all. And this last drill kind of threw it out the window, because what they ended up doing is, because for most of the class, we had to be going fast, doing tempo drills, getting faster and faster, all right, accuracy at speed again, and building off of that. But I've come to find it's really hard for people to slow down, and we never did this drill again, or anything, akin to it again, because we worked within 10 yards the entire time. Most of the shooting was done at 5, some at 7, some at 10. But either way, we didn't do a lot of distance shooting, mostly because I figured pure accuracy drills, which we did do. We took a 1 by 1.5 pacing note, put it on, said, I want 5 rounds on there. Misses are unacceptable. Do it. All right. And everybody failed because they needed to see that their marksmanship needs to be put up to snuff. Accuracy is still king. All right. However, the way I look at things is decent hits on target beats one very slow hit. All right. These are pistol rounds. You're not really destroying structures with them. You're just poking holes. The quicker we can get people to lose hydraulic fluid, the better. Now, what they ended up doing is, because we've been working on speed so much, and even though we took a slow down toward the end, they would draw, get up there, and fire. And they were doing like 0.3, 0.5 splits, which is spicy at that distance. All right, I myself did it, and I'm still doing like 0.7, 0.8 splits. Got all my hits, but not these guys. Nope. I think the highest score was like so hit factor only goes to 0 to take for what it's worth, but some of them got 3 hits and they had like 11 misses, and that's not acceptable. That's not the point of the drill. And I had them redo it again. I was like, look, you need to understand that you cannot miss. All right, so I think moving forward, if I do this drill again, it's just going to be a straight up fail. You don't get a score. You failed. All right, and then drive that into them that's wrong. You didn't understand the drill. You didn't do the drill. You just kind of winged it. And here's the thing: at those distances, misses can be super fatal. All right, Delta 34 has a great video on this with this competition. I think the Ridge Runners one, where he talks about what misses could be. Misses could be somebody else's kid that was not meant to be hit. Your kid, your wife, your husband, father, so on and so forth. It can be 1,000,001 things. All right, misses are not acceptable for the most part. Now, there's exceptions to everything, but we're not getting into that. For this particular instance, misses are not acceptable. And I don't think I explained that well enough to them. So I'm going to modify this drill where the -10s don't count. You miss one time, done. Absolutely failed the drill to 0. Now, another thing I kind of learned is don't be on a student so much. I had one guy who was struggling a little bit, and I kept correcting him. And I think I started to frustrate him a little bit. So I ended up leaning off of that a little bit. But for whatever reason, he kept fishing his gun. And instead of telling him to stop doing that, what I decided to do instead was to say, hey, you need to slow down. All right, you're not doing the technique properly. You need to slow this down. All right, nobody's dying today. All right, nobody's life is on the line. You need to slow this drill down. And I think that actually helped him because he started to smooth out a lot. Now, when he started to pick up, he would fidget a little bit, would lose his dot and everything. But overall, though, it did smooth out a lot. I gave him a way to actually practice and to actually think about what he's doing. Another thing I kind of learned is not everybody is looking the way at things the way you want them to look at them, which is not a big deal. It really is. We're all our own people and whatnot. But normally when I'm looking through my sights, through my dots, so on and so forth, I'm at least tracking what I'm doing. I know which shot I threw. I know which ones don't look correct. The whole 9 yards. Well, unfortunately, these students were new enough where they didn't understand how to figure out what they're doing through their sights. So I had to kind of coach them through that. And that's something I should probably explain better before we start most of our drills. All right. But anyway, guys, that's stuff I learned as basically a brand new trainer on my first class. All right. For what it's worth, guys, I appreciate you watching. Please like. I appreciate you watching. I can't speak today. Please like, share, subscribe, whole 9 yards. Remember, there's no such thing as cheating. There's winning and winning easier. Y'all have a good day.